Let's talk with Stephen Jones. Stephen is brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford, built for Texas, built for you. Sir, how are you this morning or this afternoon?
We're doing good. Got a good scrimmage type situation in, or dress rehearsal for a game, which was great for Mike and our team to see how Mike leads that, and thought it went really well last night, and ready to move forward and start to really focus on the Rams.
Now, if it is a dress rehearsal for a game, how hard do you think the NFL will come down on you for not putting jersey numbers on any of the jerseys?
Well, I don't think they will at all. I think that was something that was, any team could do the way they wanted to do it. Obviously, we didn't have fans for all the reasons you can imagine, and at the same time, we didn't have numbers on there because it was on parts of it were on TV, and we just really felt like it wasn't in our best interest to really identify our players as we move toward our cut down.
How much different is that aspect as opposed to previous years when you have preseason game after preseason game? How much different does that make that this year?
Totally different because, at the end of the day, these guys aren't, the 31 other teams, us included, and looking at 31 other teams. You're not getting access to see how those players are playing. So really all you have at the end of the day are any news reports out of their camps, and then what you had on the players coming out of college, and if they were professional players last year, what you had on tape from previous years, from their professional careers. So, it's an interesting time, and certainly everybody, I'm sure, trying to compete and figure out the best ways to put their 53 best players on their roster and their 16 practice squad players together as we move forward and get ready to tackle the upcoming season.
Man, Stephen, that's interesting just because I know there's plenty of times where you guys cut down to 53 and then 5 hours later you cut a guy because another guy got released off a team that you really liked, whether it was preseason or that. That seems like that's going to be really tough to do this year, that once you get down to 53, you're looking at all the other cuts and really feeling like, man, we really liked what this guy did.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's just it's this year. It's going to be different. It's unprecedented, and you have to embrace it at the end of the day. But you just never know why a player, even if they're veteran type players who you've seen on tape in previous years, you don't know how they're playing at the moment. What kind of shape they came into camp at. I mean, you don't know all the underlying circumstances that they may be out there. So. Anyway, it's very interesting times, but I think we're getting a good strategy. We're getting our hands around it and feel good about our football team for this year, and feel good about our 53 and how we're going to end up doing our practice squad.
By the way, I think per Jane Slater here, it says September 7th is the deadline for jersey numbers and names in practice. So I guess that's a loophole. Nice work, Mike McCarthy, on that one. Stephen, can we talk a little bit about the safety position? How's Xavier Woods feeling today, and what's the future look like there?
Well, I hadn't gotten the report back. We felt pretty good about it yesterday after, he just kind of felt it a little bit, and but never felt a pop and never lost strength in it. So, overall we feel like we'll get a good report on that, but until we actually get the final MRI on it and examine him over the next day or two, we'll have a better feel for what we're doing there. We do have, one of the things we do have is we do have some flexibility with some of our corners that we feel like can play safety. And, this day and time where coverage is at such a premium, that's a big deal for us, whether that's a Zuerlein or a Cheeto. Of course, we moved our rookie Robertson back there. So, we've got some options there that we feel good about. But hopefully, in particular, Xavier's the leader of that group back there, serves on our senior leadership council, and guy we hope is going to be just fine.
We talk a lot about, the NBA moving more and more towards positionless basketball. Do you see any kind of change in terms of football, too, where, safeties and cornerbacks can bounce back and forth, maybe some defensive linemen can bounce inside and out? Do you see that sort of, hybrid more and more at all?
Well, it certainly makes you more valuable on a roster if you can have that type of flexibility, corner safety, flexibility. Like you said, a guy like Tyron Crawford can go in and play the 3 technique, and rush from there, but also play defensive end for us. And then offensive line flexibility is huge. We signed a guy, Cam Irving, who in the NFL has played center, guard, and tackle. I mean, that's a huge premium when you got guys who have flexibility. I know Knight for us, has practiced for us at guard and tackle, and feel like he could bump in there if need be. The 2 Connors, we feel like have some center flexibility. So, those are things that definitely increase your value as a player, if you have that type of flexibility. C.D. Lamb's another example. I mean, he can play inside, outside, in terms of the slot or outside receiver. All those things make a player much more valuable to a team, if you can move around.
That being said, Sean Lee also, I'm kind of curious as to his program, what y'all are doing with him, and how this offseason or how this camp has gone for him. Can you explain a little bit more?
He's such a leader. He could put a whistle around his neck, put his coaching cap on, and roll if need be. But he's a great football player too. I'm not so sure he didn't play the best. In that last game, that he didn't play the best linebacking game of all our crew last year. So he's so valuable to us in terms of his leadership, in terms of how he works with the young guys, but also to have that there. Obviously, Jalen and Leighton are our starters, but, as we move forward, we're in no rush to rush him back. And, when we need him, I know he'll be there ready to roll for us.
Man, Steven, how pleased have you been with your team and then the NFL with all the negative coronavirus cases? Because just yesterday, the Oakland Athletics, they had to postpone their game because they had a player that has coronavirus. And so far, just kind of following the NFL, it looks like your players and I guess coaching staff are just doing a great job of not putting themselves in a tough situation.
Well, first of all, my hat's off to our medical group at the league office who spent countless hours coming up with a plan. Dr. Sills and Jeff Miller and his crew, I think, really did an amazing job. They worked with the different competition committees, whether it's the main one, whether it's the GMAC committee, whether it's the Madden committee with coaches, really working on a plan that would, one, be a plan that you could play football, but 2, be one that you could keep our players safe, our staff safe, our support staff safe. And I agree with you. It's just gone off amazingly. The testing's gone great. And you don't ever take it for granted because you never know when something's looming around the corner. But, I just feel like, we've really, played it forward in terms of all our different things that could pop up, which, in general, I think we still assume that, at some point we'll have our challenges. And that's why we've increased our practice squad. That's why we have some of these reserve lists that I think will be, so important to playing these football games. And, I think the coaches have accepted it. Owners have accepted it. Players certainly will see it. It's not always going to be competitively totally fair from week to week, depending on who might not be available, what coach might not be available. As we know, we have some teams without fans, some teams with fans. Some teams get to have crowd noise, the ones with fans don't. There's just hard to just do it like we've historically done it in terms of having, as competitively even of a playing field as we can have. But we also recognize these are unprecedented times. Obviously, player safety, staff safety, fan safeties first and foremost. And, we just feel good about that we're going to play our games and hopefully, bring some content to our to the fans out there who've obviously been through a lot of struggles, whether it's business, whether it's personal, and hopefully this will give them a respite.
Along those lines, has there been any discussion, and if there was, and I'm sorry I missed it, about like any kind of, since y'all are looking to have fans or are going to have fans, any kind of like discount tickets or anything for some people who have been through rough Corona times to help fill the stadium?
It's a great question. We hadn't really addressed that. We're so limited. We obviously have catered to our loyal season ticket members who've been with us year in and year out. And, this year they're going to be very limited on the number of games they get and how many times they can go to a game. And we have probably more than most in terms of, fans that in spite of, some of the challenges that are out there want to attend our games. So, we're doing everything we can to accommodate our season ticket members and the people who are there for us year in and year out. But at the same time, we all know how important it is to, there's going to be countless stories out there and certainly places where we can all, those of us who have resources, more fortunate to help those who have struggled, in these unprecedented times.
Stephen Jones joining us here on the KNC Masterpiece on 105.3 The Fan. Stephen, I think we can all surmise that Amari, Michael, and CD are your top three receivers. I'm kind of curious with guys like Cedric Wilson, Ventel Bryant, Noah Brown. Has anybody separated themselves to make the rest of that group?
Yeah, I think there's a group there of, Noah Brown's really done a great job. He's shown up. I don't know how much y'all have been in practice. He showed up big time. Ced Wilson showed up. Those guys, probably at the end of the day have really separated themselves as the next tier. You mentioned Ventrell Bryan who had an injury last night that we're looking at this morning as well, just as we are Xavier. So take a look at him. But then we've got a lot of young guys out there that, are going to push and, to get in for that sixth spot. And, So we'll see how that works itself out. We still got another big week of practice coming up, and we'll see. And, if somebody really steps up and deserves that sixth spot.
Stephen, the biggest story of camp so far for me has been the consistency of Greg Zuerlein. He missed his first field goal yesterday, and it was a 60-yarder. Is it time for panic, or are we okay there?
Well, as you know, we've been so thrilled with Zuerlein and what he brings. If you're at practice, it sounds almost like a gun going off when his foot hits that ball. It is loud, and even with the simulated crowd noise last night, you could hear that ball coming off his foot. But obviously, he came highly recommended from the Rams, and we just think that we've really upgraded that spot, and he can win some games for us, which we all know. This day and time with the with rosters and how evenly matched these games are and how many games come down to that last field goal kick, certainly he's going to give us some great opportunities to win some football games.
Stephen, I'm going to stay on special teams here because a lot of Cowboy fans have asked this over the last couple of weeks since you guys have started training camp. And some people are excited about CeeDee Lamb returning punts, and some people are concerned just because of how valuable he could be as a wide receiver and putting him in a possible kind of injury situation. So where do you stand on CeeDee Lamb returning punts this year?
I think it's a great opportunity for him to touch the ball. We've had some great players return punts for the Cowboys, starting with Deion Sanders. And, those guys are really good at their trade. I don't think it's as dangerous of a play as the kickoff in terms of, the returner. I think those guys see, especially the great ones like Deion and certainly CD can be, they see all the traffic coming at them. They know when to fair catch it and when to get out of bounds and, when to go for it. So, there's been a lot of great receivers in this league get back there and field punts and do a great job doing it. So, I don't have a huge issue with it. There may be times where it's a punt safe and, we put Ced Wilson back there or something like that. But, I think you've got this day and time in this league, if you've got dynamic players, you got to give them opportunities to make plays in the open field.
Now, last thing I've got for you. Last week we talked about your favorite movie. This week, today is Major League Baseball's trading deadline. Is there anybody you would like to see your neighbors in Arlington wheel and deal on today? Because I know you're an expert at trades.
Well, I have a hard enough time keeping up with keeping the Cowboys in a good place. I certainly don't want to get into critiquing or trying to help our neighbors there. I do know this, driving out there, the landscape's changed. It changes every day out there, and what a beautiful stadium and a beautiful setup that is out there. And I know they're, fired up about ultimately getting their fan base back in that building and their brand new building, and it's going to be special. And hopefully, I know the Rangers are fired up about what their future holds. So I wish them nothing but the best of luck.
That's probably smart. If you would have answered that, I would have called JD for an immediate response about what you guys should do in training camp. So
no question.
I think you chose the right tactic. Thank you very much, Stephen. We'll catch up with you again next week.
Thanks, guys. Take care.